Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever been told never chase anyone, that if they wanted you, they'd come to you? What if that advice has been holding you back from something real? What if the truth is, sometimes you should chase? Not because you're desperate, but because love requires courage. Because standing still might be the very reason you keep missing the connection that could have changed everything. So today, let's talk about the moments when chasing someone isn't weakness. It's the most powerful thing you can do. And ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about something that most people are terrified to admit. They want to chase. We live in a world that constantly says, don't chase anyone, know your worth. If they want you, they'll come to you. And while there's truth in that, there's also a danger. Because sometimes that advice teaches us to stand still in moments when love requires us to move. It convinces us that caring too much makes us weak, when in reality, it's one of the strongest things you can do. There are moments in life when the chase isn't about desperation. It's about devotion, clarity, and courage. And the problem isn't chasing itself. It's what drives the chase. Most people chase out of fear. Fear of losing someone, fear of being alone, fear of not being enough. That kind of chase will always drain you because it's built on anxiety, not love. But there's another kind of chase, one that comes from a place of knowing exactly what you want and being brave enough to go after it. It's the kind of chase that says, I see something extraordinary in you, and I'm not going to let my pride stop me from exploring it. That's not weakness. That's strength. And there are times when you should chase someone, not because you're trying to convince them to love you, but because you recognize something rare. You sense a connection that feels real, and you understand that meaningful things require effort. The truth is, real relationships don't fall into our laps. They're built through intentional action. Sometimes you need to make the first move. Sometimes you need to follow up. Sometimes you need to show someone that you see them, not just their beauty or their charm, but their soul. And chasing doesn't mean begging. It doesn't mean losing your dignity. It means you are willing to put in effort where most people wouldn't. It means you're not letting fear of rejection dictate your behavior. If you're chasing because your intuition tells you there's something special there, something worth exploring, then that's not foolish, that's brave. But if you're chasing because you're terrified of losing their attention, that's when it becomes toxic. The energy behind the chase matters more than the chase itself, and we live in an age where detachment is glorified. Everyone's trying to act like they don't care, like they're too cool to text first, too busy to express how they feel. But love doesn't thrive in indifference. It thrives in vulnerability. It grows in moments when you dare to say, I like you. I want to get to know you. I'm willing to take a step toward you, even if it scares me. You don't have to chase endlessly, but you do have to be courageous enough to take that step when your heart tells you it's right. And you see, there are people in your life who won't realize your value immediately, not because you're not enough, but because they're not ready. Sometimes you have to show them a glimpse of what it could be like to be loved by you. You might have to take initiative to reach out, to plan the date, to be the one who opens the door to connection. That's not chasing out of desperation. That's creating momentum. It's showing that you care enough to try. And maybe, yes, they won't reciprocate. Maybe your effort won't be met with the same energy, but that's okay. Because even then, you'll walk away knowing you acted from authenticity, not ego. You didn't play games. You didn't let fear of rejection silence your truth, and that's something to be proud of. The pain of rejection is temporary. The regret of never trying lasts much longer, and so when should you chase someone? When doing so feels like integrity. When it feels aligned with your truth, not your insecurities. When you know in your heart that you're acting from a place of strength, not scarcity. Because when love is real, it doesn't always come neatly packaged. Sometimes it requires persistence. Sometimes it requires faith. Sometimes it requires you to show up, even when it would be easier to walk away. And the key is knowing when to stop. A healthy chase has boundaries. It's about expressing your interest, not proving your worth. You make your move, you show your heart, and then you allow them to meet you halfway. If they don't, that's your answer. But don't confuse rejection with failure. You've already won the moment you acted with courage, and there's beauty in being the one who's willing to care first. It's powerful to be someone who doesn't wait for the world to give permission to love. Too many people hold back because they're afraid of looking foolish, of getting hurt, of doing too much. But love was never meant to be half-hearted. The people who experience extraordinary relationships are the ones who take extraordinary emotional risks. They reach out, they follow up, they stay open, they chase, not because they're weak, but because they know life's greatest rewards rarely come to those who wait in silence. And sometimes the chase isn't even about the other person. It's about you proving to yourself that you are capable of expressing what's in your heart without fear. That you can show up fully, honestly, and courageously. When you do that, you grow, you evolve, you raise your standard for what it means to love. Because love isn't just about being chosen, it's about choosing. And when you chase with self-respect, it looks different. You're not begging for attention, you're extending an invitation. You're not trying to fill a void, you're expressing interest. And the difference is everything. One drains your soul, the other expands it. And there will be moments in life when you meet someone who ignites something in you. It might not be logical, it might not fit your timeline, but it feels real. When that happens, don't run from it just because the world tells you not to chase. If your heart is saying, "This person matters," listen, take the risk, make the call, send the message. Ask the question, be bold enough to care. You'll either get the love you want or the lesson you need. Both will make you stronger, and sometimes chasing someone is the most honest thing you can do, because it means you're willing to show your heart before you know how it'll be received. It means you're not hiding behind pride or fear. It means you're alive enough to still believe in connection. But remember this, your value doesn't increase because someone finally sees it. It was already there long before the chase began. The chase is not about proving that you're worthy of love. It's about showing that you have the courage to give it. And so, yes, there are times when you should chase someone, when the connection feels genuine, when your intentions are pure, when you're not trying to fix, impress, or rescue, but to connect, understand, and share. That's not chasing someone blindly. That's chasing the truth of your own heart, and that's the kind of chase worth every step. And because the truth is, we live in a generation that's more afraid of caring than it is of losing something meaningful. People are terrified of being labeled too much. They don't want to appear needy or emotional or vulnerable, so they choose silence. They choose distance. They pretend not to care, even when their hearts are screaming that they do. But here's the thing. Love has never belonged to those who play it safe. Love belongs to the brave, to the ones who risk looking foolish in the pursuit of something real. The ones who say, I don't care if this makes me look uncool. I'd rather be genuine than guarded. And there will be moments when your pride will whisper, don't text first. Don't show that you care. Wait for them to make a move. But your heart will whisper something softer, something wiser. Reach out, say how you feel, be the one who chooses connection over ego. That's the voice you should follow. Because pride will protect you, yes, but it will also imprison you. Pride builds walls, but courage builds bridges. And when it comes to love, bridges are what lead us to something extraordinary. And there's a difference between chasing and forcing. Chasing means you're showing genuine interest and energy towards something that feels meaningful. Forcing means you're trying to bend someone's will just to avoid losing them. The first comes from confidence, the second comes from fear, and that distinction matters. If you're chasing because you feel alive in their presence, because you see something worth exploring, then that's an act of authenticity. But if you're chasing because you believe they're your only shot at happiness, then you've already given away your power. And when you chase someone from a healthy place, you're not trying to prove your worth. You're expressing it. You're saying, I know who I am, and I know what I bring. I'm not afraid to put effort into something I value. That kind of energy is magnetic. It doesn't make people run. It makes them pay attention, because deep down, everyone wants to feel chosen. Everyone wants to feel pursued. It reminds us that we matter, that we're seen, that we're worth someone else's time and effort. And the secret is this: you can chase someone without losing yourself. You can give effort without giving your peace. You can show up without overextending. It's all about balance. It's about knowing when your pursuit is met with appreciation and when it's being taken for granted. You can tell a lot by how someone responds to your energy. If they meet you halfway, if they show gratitude, if they reciprocate in small ways, then you're building something. But if they keep you chasing shadows, constantly making you question where you stand, then your energy is better spent elsewhere. And there's power in effort, but there's also power in walking away. The key is knowing which one serves you in the moment. Sometimes, the greatest chase isn't after another person, it's after your own clarity. You chase them because you need to know. You need to find out whether the connection is real or just a beautiful illusion. That pursuit, even if it ends in disappointment, gives you peace. Because at least you'll know you tried. You won't spend nights wondering, what if? You'll know that you gave love a chance to show up. And that kind of closure is priceless. And people talk about playing hard to get, as if love were a game of who can care less. But the truth is, the best connections are formed when two people stop playing entirely, when they stop hiding behind their fears and start showing up with honesty. So, if chasing someone means being the one who chooses honesty over ego, that's a chase worth taking. Because when you stop trying to win and start trying to connect, everything changes, and there are people who enter your life who feel different from the rest. They stir something deep within you that logic can't explain. They make you see parts of yourself you forgot existed. With them, it's not about convenience, it's about connection. You can't just replace that kind of feeling with someone else. When that happens, when you meet someone who lights that spark, it's okay to chase. It's okay to lean in, to care, to show up. Because some connections deserve more than just a passive interest. They deserve intentional pursuit. But remember this, chasing someone doesn't mean abandoning your standards. It doesn't mean lowering your boundaries or ignoring your needs. The most powerful chase is one where you still honor yourself, you still demand respect, you still maintain your self-worth. Because love should never come at the cost of your peace. If chasing someone makes you lose your sense of self, that's not love, that's attachment. And attachment will always leave you empty, and real chasing is grounded, it's intentional, it's rooted in self-awareness. You chase not because you're trying to fill a void, but because you want to expand your life. You're not seeking someone to complete you. You're seeking someone to complement you. That energy feels different. It's not frantic or desperate. It's calm. It's confident. It says, I don't need you to validate me, but I do see something beautiful between us, and I'm willing to explore it. That kind of chase doesn't push people away. It draws them closer. And there will come a moment when you'll have to decide, do you follow your heart or do you protect it? The answer isn't always easy, but sometimes the bravest thing you can do is let your heart lead, even if it means getting hurt. Because pain fades, regret lingers. It's better to face the sting of rejection than the slow ache of wondering what could have been. You don't learn courage from playing it safe. You learn it from showing up despite your fear. And when you chase someone, it teaches you things about yourself that nothing else can. It reveals how deeply you can care, how brave you can be, how much vulnerability you can tolerate. It forces you to confront your insecurities. It shows you where your boundaries are and sometimes where they need to be. You learn that love isn't always easy, that it's not always reciprocal, but even when it's not, it's still worth it because love, even unreturned, refines you. It softens you. It teaches you empathy. It reminds you that you still have the capacity to feel deeply in a world that often tries to numb you. And people often say, if it's meant to be, it'll be. But that phrase has made too many people passive. What if it's meant to be only if you take the risk? What if it's waiting for you to act? Destiny isn't always a straight line. It's a series of choices. And sometimes the choice to chase someone is the very thing that turns potential into reality. Waiting might feel safe, but love isn't born in safety. It's born in action. And the moments that change your life don't come when you're standing still. They come when you decide to move. When you decide to speak up, to reach out, to take that leap. You never know how much one honest message, one unexpected gesture, one brave confession can shift the course of your story. Sometimes it only takes one moment of courage to open a door that would have stayed closed forever. And so, when you feel that pull toward someone, when everything inside you says, there's something here, don't silence it. Don't let fear talk you out of connection. Let your curiosity lead you. Let your heart express what it feels. You can be bold and respectful at the same time. You can chase without clinging. You can love without losing yourself. And if it doesn't work out, you'll still walk away stronger, because chasing someone doesn't just show you who they are. It shows you who you are. It shows you what you're capable of when you lead with heart instead of ego. It teaches you that love is not about perfection. It's about effort. It's about showing up again and again, even when the world tells you not to. And so yes, there are times when you should chase someone. Not because you need them to complete you, but because you recognize something rare, because you have the courage to believe that connection is worth fighting for. Because deep down, you'd rather risk being hurt than spend a lifetime wondering, what if I'd tried? That's not desperation, that's love at its most powerful, fearless form. And because at some point, every person who's ever experienced something extraordinary had to be willing to look foolish for love. They had to risk the embarrassment of showing up. They had to risk the silence after a message they weren't sure would be returned. They had to face the moment where their effort might go unnoticed, but they did it anyway because love, in its truest form, is not for the faint of heart. It's for the brave. It's for the ones who are willing to be vulnerable in a world that celebrates detachment. And we all crave connection, yet so many of us are scared to go after it. We tell ourselves stories like, if it's meant to be, it'll come to me. Or, if they really wanted me, they'd make the effort. But what if they're scared too? What if they're waiting for a sign, just like you are? What if your silence is mirroring theirs, and two people who could have been something real never even start because both were too afraid to show up first? Sometimes the chase isn't about chasing a person, it's about breaking that silence. It's about giving both hearts a chance to meet halfway. And there's something magnetic about someone who goes after what they want with clarity and confidence. It's not about being pushy, it's about being purposeful. When you chase someone from a place of authenticity, it communicates, I see you, and I'm not afraid to act on it. That kind of energy stands out in a world full of people who are too busy pretending not to care. You see, the right kind of chase doesn't make you lose power, it amplifies it. Because it's not about begging for attention, it's about demonstrating intention, and you learn a lot about yourself in the moments you choose to chase. You learn how much courage you have when your heart is on the line. You learn patience when things don't unfold as quickly as you hope. You learn emotional discipline when your effort isn't immediately reciprocated. Those lessons don't disappear even if the person does. They stay with you, shaping you into someone who understands that love requires resilience. And too many people think effort should be 50-50 from the very start. But that's not how connection always begins. Sometimes it takes one person being 80 while the other is 20. Sometimes someone needs to see you care before they feel safe enough to care too. That doesn't make you foolish, it makes you the initiator. Every strong connection has a catalyst, someone who takes the first step. Be that person if your heart tells you to. Because one day you might look back and realize that moment of bravery was the reason everything changed. But chasing doesn't mean losing awareness. There's a difference between being patient and being blind. You can show effort, but you must also stay attuned to how they respond. If they pull away every time you step closer, that's not your cue to run faster. It's your cue to pause. Because no matter how much you care, love can't be built on one-sided pursuit. The right kind of chase is always mutual at some point. It transitions from me showing up to us building something. When that doesn't happen, you don't fail by stopping. You succeed by preserving your energy for something real. And sometimes the chase isn't about getting them. It's about awakening something in you. That fire, that passion, that sense of aliveness that comes from daring to want something deeply. We spend so much of our lives trying not to feel too much, trying to stay in control, trying to protect ourselves from pain. But there's something beautiful about feeling fully, even if it hurts. because that's what it means to be human, to care so deeply that it scares you, yet still choose to care anyway. And maybe you've been hurt before. Maybe the last time you chased someone, it ended badly. Maybe they walked away, and you promised yourself you'd never make that mistake again. But let me tell you this, caring is not a mistake. Loving is not a mistake. The only mistake is letting fear convince you that it's safer to stay numb. You can't build a fulfilling life while living in emotional armor. Sometimes chasing someone is your way of telling the universe, I'm still open, I still believe. And there will be moments when your effort feels invisible, when your message sits unanswered, when your heart feels heavy with the weight of uncertainty. In those moments, remember this: rejection doesn't diminish your value, it just redirects your energy. Every person you chase that isn't right for you is guiding you closer to the one who is. Every risk that doesn't pay off is training you to recognize authenticity when it finally arrives. Love isn't wasted when it's given sincerely. It's only wasted when it's withheld out of fear. And you are not too much for chasing someone who inspires you. You are not weak for wanting clarity. You are not desperate for showing up with sincerity. You are simply human. The ones who criticize effort are often the ones too afraid to give it, because deep down, everyone wants to be pursued, to be seen, to be fought for. So, if you have that courage within you to go after what moves your heart, you're already ahead of most. And think about it. Every meaningful connection you've ever had came from someone's willingness to reach out. A message, a smile, a gesture, a moment of courage that broke the barrier between strangers. That's what chasing really is, an act of faith. It's saying, I believe in what could be, even before you know if it'll become something more. That's not foolishness. That's emotional leadership. It's you stepping into your power as someone who acts rather than just hopes. And when you chase someone, do it with grace. Let your energy say, I'm here if you're open, but I'll be okay if you're not. That's the kind of confidence that turns heads. It's the kind that doesn't cling, it invites. You're not trying to force a door open, you're simply knocking with sincerity. And if it doesn't open, you walk away knowing you didn't leave your truth unspoken. And because sometimes the chase isn't supposed to end in a relationship. Sometimes it's meant to teach you timing, patience, or self-worth. It's meant to show you how much effort you're capable of giving and still standing tall after. It's meant to remind you that love is not about outcome. It's about expression. It's about giving something pure without letting fear contaminate it. And you'll know the right time to chase someone because it won't feel like chaos, it'll feel like clarity. It won't feel like you're trying to convince them. It'll feel like you're simply showing up with honesty. There's peace in that kind of pursuit. You won't feel the need to overthink every message or read into every pause. You'll just act because it feels aligned with who you are, and when it's aligned, it doesn't drain you, it energizes you. And there's something profoundly beautiful about being the one who still believes in connection in a world that's forgotten how to care. The one who still dares to try when others give up too easily. You are not chasing for attention, you're chasing for meaning. You're chasing for depth. You're chasing for the possibility of something real in a sea of temporary. And maybe, one day, you'll look back and realize that it was your chase that woke something up in them too. Maybe your courage gave them permission to open up. Maybe your honesty made them feel safe enough to care back. Love doesn't always start as a two-way street. Sometimes it begins with one person lighting the path for both. And so, don't be afraid to be that person. Don't let the fear of rejection silence your heart. Don't let the world's cynicism convince you that caring is uncool. The truth is, caring is rare, effort is rare, vulnerability is rare, and the rarest people are the ones who still chase what matters, even when it might not chase them back. And you will never regret giving genuine effort to something you believed in. You will only regret the moments you let fear decide for you. Because, in the end, it's not about whether they said yes or no. It's about whether you were brave enough to try, to feel, to act, to chase not from emptiness, but from wholeness. Because when you chase from that place, you're not just pursuing someone else, you're honoring yourself. And because when you chase from wholeness, everything about your energy changes. You're no longer coming from a place of, please choose me. You're coming from, I've already chosen myself, and now I'm extending that love outward. That energy is powerful. It's calm, magnetic, and confident. It doesn't beg for attention, it commands respect. People can feel the difference when you approach them from a place of fullness rather than fear. You're no longer trying to complete yourself through another person. You're inviting someone to share in what you've already built. That's what makes the chase beautiful, not desperate, but deliberate. And when you understand your own value, the chase becomes an expression of joy, not an act of survival. You're not chasing to fix your loneliness. You're chasing because you see potential in something and you're excited to explore it. You're not saying, I need you to make me happy. You're saying, I'm already happy and I'd love to see what happiness looks like when it's shared. That kind of energy shifts everything. It takes the pressure off the other person and transforms the pursuit into something light, genuine, and real. And sometimes the chase isn't about the outcome, it's about reawakening your courage to feel. It's about proving to yourself that you can still be bold enough to go after what moves you, even when you've been hurt before. Every time you open your heart again after pain, you're not repeating a mistake. You're expanding your capacity to love. It means the last heartbreak didn't harden you. It means you refused to let bitterness win. That's strength in its purest form. And there are moments in life when the person you chase won't meet you halfway. They'll pull away, get scared, or simply not see what you see. And in those moments, you'll be tempted to think you were wrong for trying, but you weren't. You were brave enough to act on your truth. You were honest about what you wanted. That alone makes you extraordinary. Because the world is full of people who hide behind silence, who let opportunity pass because they're afraid of looking foolish. It was a necessary act of self-preservation. You showed up, you tried, and that's something to be proud of. And there's a certain grace in knowing when to stop, too. Chasing someone isn't about proving your worth. It's about expressing your heart. Once that's done, your job is complete. You don't have to chase endlessly. You don't have to beg someone to see your value. Your effort was the message. If they didn't hear it, that's not your failure, it's their timing. And sometimes that timing isn't meant to align. Maybe they're not ready. Maybe life needs to teach you both something first. But one day, when you look back, you'll realize that every person you ever chased led you closer to understanding the kind of love that truly matches your soul. And you'll start to see patterns, the people you chased out of insecurity versus the ones you pursued from authenticity. The first group will always leave you drained. because your chase was about trying to earn love. The second group will leave you wiser because your chase was about exploring love. That's how growth happens. You begin to understand the difference between seeking validation and offering connection, between wanting to be chosen and choosing someone from a place of peace. And when you chase someone with integrity, it's not about manipulation, it's about transparency. You're not pretending to be indifferent. You're not waiting 3 hours to reply just to appear less eager. You're not hiding behind games or mixed signals. You're saying, I care, and I'm okay if that makes me vulnerable. That's real courage. Because in a world obsessed with appearing detached, showing genuine emotion is an act of rebellion. It's choosing real connection over performance, and at some point, you'll meet someone who values that honesty. Someone who doesn't make you feel silly for trying. Someone who meets your effort with warmth and openness. That's the kind of person who's worth your energy, because love isn't supposed to feel like running a race, it's supposed to feel like coming home. But you only find that when you've been brave enough to chase a few times before. Every pursuit that didn't work out was preparing you to recognize what mutual effort really feels like. And when love finally flows both ways, it doesn't require you to chase. It invites you to dance, and that's the beauty of it. You won't have to fight for attention or wonder where you stand. The effort will come naturally from both sides. But the only way you get there is by first learning what one-sided effort feels like. You learn boundaries through experience. You learn your worth through contrast. So even when the chase ends in disappointment, it's still a win. It's part of your evolution. And think about how many people never even give themselves that chance. They stay in the safety of what's familiar, never taking the leap, never saying what they feel. They convince themselves they're protecting their hearts, but in truth, they're numbing them. They end up existing instead of living. Don't be one of those people. Life isn't meant to be a waiting room where you hope things come to you. It's meant to be a journey where you go after them. And you weren't born to be passive. You weren't born to sit in the background of your own love story, waiting for someone else to make the first move. You were born to experience all the colors of connection, the excitement, the uncertainty, the hope, even the heartbreak. Because that's what makes life rich. Playing it safe might protect you, but it also robs you of those moments that make you feel truly alive. And so chase when your heart tells you to, not because you need validation, but because you have the courage to express what's real. Let your effort reflect your authenticity. Be the person who acts from truth, not fear. The world doesn't need more people pretending not to care. It needs more people brave enough to love openly. And yes, people might misunderstand your heart. They might say you're doing too much. They might tell you to play hard to get. But here's the truth. Those same people secretly wish they had your courage, because it's easier to hide behind detachment than to risk being seen. Don't let their fear become your blueprint. You're not meant to live half-heartedly just because others are scared to go all in. And when you chase from wholeness, rejection doesn't destroy you. It refines you. It reminds you that your heart is still alive, still capable of reaching, still willing to believe. That's something sacred, because there will come a time when you meet someone who recognizes that kind of heart, who feels lucky that you chose to chase them, even for a moment. They'll see that your effort isn't desperation, it's devotion, and they'll match it. They'll meet you where you are. That's when everything will make sense, and until then, Keep honoring that part of you that feels deeply. Don't apologize for caring too much. Don't dull your passion to fit into a world that glorifies indifference. The right people will never be intimidated by your intensity. They'll be inspired by it. They'll see your chase for what it truly is, an act of hope in a world that's forgotten how to hope. And there's power in being the person who still believes in connection, because every time you choose to chase, you're choosing to live. You're choosing vulnerability over avoidance, growth over comfort, love over fear. And even if the chase doesn't end the way you hoped, it still leaves you with something valuable. It leaves you with proof that your heart is still capable of extraordinary courage. And that's the kind of strength most people never discover, because strength isn't about how well you can hide your emotions. It's about how boldly you can express them. It's about being the one who still risks, still hopes, still loves, even when it doesn't always make sense. That's real strength, that's real life. And so when the world tells you not to chase, remember this. It's not chasing that hurts, it's chasing without awareness. But when you chase from fullness, from truth, from peace, you're not losing anything, you're expanding. You're living in alignment with what your heart was made to do, to love without fear, to give without expecting, and to show up fully, even when the outcome is uncertain. Because that's where life truly begins.